you need to niche down. You need to go really close and you need to find what is your thing. And I kept saying, but all I do is knit. And they say, no, Anne, that's not all you do. You knit and you design beautiful garments that are rooted in the Norwegian tradition. And the people that you are looking for, they love that. And that's what they will be fascinated by that. And that's the way that you are going to draw the people into your world. And if they like you and they like your stuff, they're going to stick.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the newest episode of Creatives on Camera. If you're an entrepreneur teaching, designing patterns, or running a shop and feeling like video is just too complicated or time-consuming, you're in the right place. This podcast is your guide to creating video content that connects authentically with your audience, builds your business, and expands your reach without the stress of a huge production or expensive equipment. We make it simple, effective, doable. I'm Lyric Montgomery Kinard, an artist, educator, and host of the show. Join me as we explore practical tips and strategies to help you confidently share your creativity online. Let's get started. If you've ever wondered how to turn your craft into a sustainable teaching business without shrinking your soul, this one's for you. Today, we're talking with Anne Fjeldt, a Norwegian knitwear designer who rebuilt her struggling business by niching deeply and serving a North American audience with cultural-rich, community-centered experiences. You'll learn how Anne found her niche inside a niche and created courses that feel like home for her students. Her approach is full of heart and beautifully strategic. I'm Lyric, and this is Creatives on Camera from the Academy for Virtual Teaching, where crafters and artists come together to build teaching businesses that last. Should we get started? Hello, friends. We are here with Anne Fjeldt, who I was so delighted to meet virtually. She is nowhere close to me. This virtual magic has allowed us to have conversations across the world. Anna, you are in Norway, and I would love for you to introduce yourself and your business to our audience.
Thank you. Yes, I'm in Norway, and thank you so much, first of all, for having me. I really appreciate that. That's fun. I love talking about my business, so, whenever. Well, I'm a knitter, a knitting designer. I used to be in the corporate world, and for all kinds of reasons, I ended up doing knitting design and tried to make my living in doing it in Norway. In Norway, everyone knows how to knit, so it was a bit difficult.
Oh, so you're preaching to the choir. They already know.
Yeah, because they do. The Norwegians you guys are like 350 million people, or close to it anyway, in the US, as far as I know. In Norway, we are 5.5 million people. So, and there are so many knitting designers. So you're competing in a market where everyone knows how to knit, and everyone wants their pattern for free, and that's not sustainable. You can't make a business from that. I did manage, because I did open a yarn shop online, and I did manage for a couple of years to make that profitable. And then something happened in the yarn market over here, so I had to think differently. And then in 2019, it was this last. Had been struggling for a few years, and then there was this last. 2019, I decided, okay, this is now or never. It's a last pull to make this happen, because I really, really wanted to be. I don't know how much you want to know about that, but I did have a complete burnout after this corporate world thing, and I realized I needed to make my own fortune.
Right. I think that is so common, though, when we give our all to something else that is not coming from inside us, right? Burnout is such a real thing. And we have to survive. I mean, we have to be able to pay the mortgage and have a roof over our head and have food to eat. And you have to do that somehow. But this crash and burn that kind of forces so many of us into something else, it's painful, but sometimes it's the fire that lets the phoenix rise, right?
It is so true. It is so true. Because what happened with me was that I was actually on top of that. We have a really good system in Norway, completely different than what you have, a social security system, which is, way out of your league, to be quite honest. But we have a year to kind of, you're not living like the kings and queens, but you have a year to kind of find your footing. And then with a certain amount of money being supported with that. But then after that, you have to make a decision. So I was, during that call, at that point, I went to talk to a person because I had too much in my, the top here. So that needed to get in my head, that needed to get out. So I went to see a person, not a traditional therapist, but, a conversational person. And she challenged me in 3/4 of a year, of a year later, after into this burnout. She challenged me, what do you want to do? And I had used my knitting as a way of getting out of the burnout, because I could knit with my eyes closed. So it was a way of staying awake instead of falling asleep. Because I was at, I couldn't sit up, I couldn't hold my head up. I was lying on the sofa. I always went out of the bed and down to the sofa because I didn't want to lie in bed all the time, right? And she said, what do you want to do?
It's a complete physical crash.
Yeah, totally. My brain didn't work, body didn't work, nothing worked. I ran 10K on Monday and on Tuesday, and woke up on Wednesday at 7:00 p.m. Went to bed at 8:00 the day before, so it was a tough one. But then she challenged me and she said, Anne, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Because what happened was that I was laid off in the middle of all this. In Norway, we have really strong rules around that. So I had a lawyer look at that thing for me and help me a bit. I was not in the state of defending myself at all at that point, but I had some friends that helped me out a bit. And that lawyer challenged them quite a bit. So I got a fair amount of cash to compensate for that. And then that gave me the freedom to think differently. So then my coach told me, okay, I'll call her let's just keep it like that. Let's call her my coach. And she said, but Anne, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Do you want to go back to corporate world, or do you want to find another way? Or is there, if you can pick from the top shelf, whatever you want. And I looked at her and I said, whatever I want, then I would knit. And then I started laughing, that, well, but of course I can't do that, right? And then she looked at me and she said, who says that you can't do that? 4 weeks later, I had 50,000 Norwegian kroner, that is like $5,000 worth of yarn in my living room. And 2 months after that, I opened the online yarn shop with my own designs. And at that point, I had never designed for other people at all. So, and then this was in Norwegian, all of it. I did it, everything was in Norway. And then it went okay, and I built an audience, and it went really well. I had some really good years before I missed out on a couple of things that happened in the market that I should have been aware of, but I wasn't, because I was so in my own little bubble at that point. And then decided to close it, go back to the corporate world in one way or another, got myself a job, took 9 months, and there we go again. Back into, I didn't go as far as last time but it was like, I can't do this, sorry. And that's when I decided, you have to make this work in one way or another, because you can't work for others, because you need to have your off time when you need it, not when the corporate, your business, your employer allows you to, but when you need it. And then I thought, okay, what are we going to do? I spent a few years in England, as you probably can hear from my accent, but I'm been to London for a couple of years, and I knew how to speak English fairly well. I had been working in global companies for 15 years. So I spent, used my English a lot. And then I thought, let's do this in English. That had been a dream of mine, actually. I've never dreamt about getting into this business. But when I got into it, I thought, okay, to make a break in the US and Canada would be awesome. But I never managed to get that any further. But at this point, it was like, okay, we're doing it. So I started doing it, and I tried in Norwegian and English, and I soon realized that this is not going to work. I have to decide. So I ditched all my Norwegians. They were a bit upset. No. I did it over, I spent a year preparing them. And then since the last 4 years, I've been doing this in English only.
Okay. And by this, you looked around and you saw a market that was much larger than what you already had access to. You were kind of forced into expanding and thinking differently. And I think so many of us, I don't know anybody in our creative teaching industry who as a little kid said, I want to be a knitting teacher when I grow up, right? I had no clue that any of this world even existed, that I'm working in this big ocean that I'm swimming in. So you look around and you see some different possibilities. Give us an overview, a big picture of what your current business looks like now. What do you do? Who do you serve? Let's talk about teaching online. Maybe you've thought about it, but it feels overwhelming. You're worried about being on camera, not having the right tech, or figuring out how to translate hands-on workshops to a virtual setting. I've been there, but here's the truth. You don't need to be a tech genius or have a big audience to make online teaching work. That's why I'm inviting you to my free Virtual Teaching 101 webinar. I'll show you how to take what you're already doing and turn it into online classes that reach students globally, all with minimal equipment and simple steps. When I made the switch, my income per teaching hour jumped by 7 times compared to in-person workshops, and I'll show you exactly how it can work for you too. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Sign up now at academyforvirtualteaching.com and let's get you started on this incredible journey. I'll see you there.
Yeah, primarily I'm serving the North American continent. So it's like the US and Canada. Mm-hmm. Having said that, more and more Europeans are coming into my world without me spending time on trying to get them. Everything I do, I'm focusing on targeting the US and Canada. And the reason why is because I realized, okay, I want to do colorwork knitting, and colorwork knitting has this reputation of being Norwegian knitting out there to a certain extent. It's also Fair Isle, for those who know knitting a bit, but Norwegian knitting is a bit different, and it's kind of like a way of differentiating yourself by not doing knitting, but niching down and then decide, okay, it's going to be from now on, because I used to do all kinds of stuff. Now it's going to be colorwork knitting, and that's it. And we're going to focus on that. We have a king in Norway, and he's a proper king. He's a good person. And he had this talk, he went to Minnesota at some point when I was in my teens, and he had this, I saw an excerpt from his talk that he had to some American Norwegians, with Norwegian heritage. And I remember him saying that there are more Americans and Canadians with Norwegian heritage than there are Norwegians in Norway.
Interesting.
And there are. Today there are approximately the same, but it's kind of like, but there are. There are more than 5 million people in the US that have Norwegian heritage.
We have a lot more geographic room to let people spread out.
Exactly. And the big majority of them are in Minnesota. Just
Mhm. Yeah.
but anyway, so what happened, that stuck with me. So when I started, thinking about all this, I thought, okay, the North American continent, and I'm gonna use it for everything that it's worth. The Norwegian heritage thing,
Mhm.
because I'm proud of my country.
Absolutely.
I'm a global person, and I like to travel. I enjoy meeting new cultures and all that, and I soak it in. I'm really, really interested in it. But at the same time, I'm really proud of being a Norwegian, and I know that the Americans and Canadians with Norwegian heritage, to a large degree, are kind of looking for their roots, right? So I thought,
They
okay,
want to connect with that.
there is a market there. Let's see if we can hit that.
So this is really a really key point as well for any business owner in our industry. I know all of us want to reach everybody. We want to have all the students. We want to bring our thing that we love so much to as many people as possible. But the opposite of that needs to happen in order to gain a big audience. You have to niche down so specifically, as tightly and as small as you can, to find the people who you can really, truly, authentically connect with. And your marketing will find those people if you speak to those people. If you try to speak to everybody, you're
You're speaking
just
to no one, right?
you're boring, right? You don't have a connection.
No, exactly. And I think that was what it was a bit scary, because I understood that, okay, when I did this, I did an American business course at the time, and I had some really good coaches, and they guided me, and they kept pushing me. You need to niche down, niche down, niche down. And then it's during that process that I came to the Norwegian knitting thing. And I was like, because I have always felt, and this also I think is really important for the people out there listening to this and have the same, of our kind, same soft, what do you call them?
Soft crafts.
Soft crafts. Yeah.
Yeah.
English is not my native language. It tends to stop off now and then. So if you feel that my vocabulary is a bit too short, that's why.
You are just fine.
Yeah, thank you. But anyway, and I was afraid that, because they said, and you need to niche down, you need to go really close, and you need to find what is your thing. And I kept saying, but all I do is knit. And they said, no, Anne, that's not all you do. You knit and you design beautiful garments that are rooted in the Norwegian tradition. And the people that you are looking for, they love that. And that's what they will be fascinated by that. And that's the way that you are going to draw the people into your world. And if they like you and they like your stuff, they're going to stick, right? So in the beginning, I was really, really scared. And I felt that this is not going to work. This is too tight. It's too narrow, and it's too specific. But what has happened is that, and it is really specific, Anne's Norwegian knitting, right? It's really niche down. It's like you can't get it much more. I could have concentrated on kids, for example, but I don't. It's predominantly women, though, but design, but that's it. But anyway, but what has happened is that when I found, because through this process, and this process is still going, obviously, because I just did a organizing of my business. But this business of mine started at that really narrow, small point, but it has developed so much during the course of the years, because I found my footing. In the beginning, I was sitting there thinking that all I do is knit. Now I get emails from people telling me that I changed their lives, that I saved their lives even. And it's like, it gives me the chills. I had one the evening after we talked last week. There was an email coming in. I was sitting here crying because of it. And then I remember those coaches, every time that happens, I remember those coaches from my first business course saying that you are changed, because everyone is like, people in the online world, we are all in there. I mean, you see all this stuff about, go from no money to lots of money in zero time, go from being, health-wise, going from not having good health to, prosper. And I felt that everyone had so much more to give.
Right. I'm just knitting a sweater. How can that change somebody's life, right?
Exactly. And I remember one of the coaches, and he was a man, and he was like, Anne, you have to start thinking differently about this, because you are going to change lives. The passion you have, the stuff that you make. As he said, I'm not a knitter, and I knew he wasn't a knitter, and I don't wear knitwear because I live in too warm a climate. But this, you have to, exactly. You have to think differently about this, because you will, with your determination and passion, you will change lives.
Let's get into why and how. What is it about what you offer that's a knitting course, right? At its simplest level, you just teach people how to knit a Norwegian sweater, but that's so surface level. How is your business organized? What is it that turns it from I'm just learning how to knit a sweater to you changed my life?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of the things that is really giving a good picture, is that I've been looking for a new way to offer this, because I've been struggling trying to find the right words to get people to understand, because people don't really fully understand what they're getting themselves into. Right. Until they actually get inside, and then they don't leave. I can't get rid of them. So, not that I want to, because I don't.
No, I have the exact same thing. It's such a different thing to have people in your ecosystem, in your community where you can affect them. That's different to trying to explain what it is to people who haven't experienced it yet. Marketing is hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I've been struggling really hard to find a way to, find my messaging and how to communicate all this. Having said that, I found fairly quickly, I think it's almost 3 years since now, that I decided that I wanted to center everything around define some pillars. And everything that I do is like, it's obviously knitting, right? But what I do is that I sprinkle it, or, actually more than sprinkle, but let's call it sprinkle, with Norwegian, culture and history to it, because I believe that my craft is actually rooted in Norwegian history and crafting. I'm really, really focused on the fact that knitting can be a lifesaver health-wise, and I use that myself, because I used my knitting to get out of it, right? So the mental aspect of it is really important. And also I've learned so much about that since I started this journey online and took courses myself on how to value the people and make sure that the people in that they also value themselves. So everything that I've learned, when my coaches told me that I'm need to, start looking at myself as a bit, much more than I actually do, I'm doing the same to my knitters. I'm using the same kind of wording, the same philosophies. So the mental aspect of it is really important. And also I have a really strong focus on the sustainability, because I feel that we owe it to Mother Earth to start thinking and be a bit serious about how we treat it. So I have some really strong, I'm not going to go into some really strong opinions on synthetic materials and stuff. And I'm a big advocate for using, taking care of nature and that stuff.
Right. So what your business does, they're courses, but when we talked earlier, you talked about what you're doing is creating a community that has an experience together.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because all this has moved into so many courses. And then I launched a high-end program, and that was really good. But still, there's been so much, because the community is a really strong passion of mine, that I wanted to be a community, a true community. So then I launched I've been talking about, I have this high-end program that I called the Great Norwegian Knitting Magic Experience. I'm a translator. I'm a word nerd. And a marketeer. So I love my words. People are like, but that's a mouthful. So we ended up calling it the Great Experience. I have another product which has, I think I've had close to 1,500 people doing that program. It's a shawl which I call the Eternity Shawl Experience, because that's also an experience.
Mm-hmm.
But then I found that, because that's what I see my stuff as, I just don't want my patterns to drop them out there and then leave them. I want to make sure that people enjoy them in a way. And it has ended up with so many things. So this summer, what we did in August was that we launched a new structure, and we are now doing 3 different journeys. That's what I'm offering. Everything that I have is put into one of those journeys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you have the mountain journey, which is the lower level. And I'm a mountain person. I come from Norway. I love my mountains. I can't live without them. I have this mountain journey. I take you on a journey up to the mountains to give you the overview. That's the lowest level. Then we have the middle level, and maybe not all of you know it, but Norway is known for its fjords on the west coast, long, deep fjords. And that's the middle level, where we go into the fjords, and then we go deep on stuff. Okay. And then you have the ultimate, what used to be the Great Experience is now the greatest, as one of my people say, one of my members say, it's not a great experience, it's the greatest experience. And now,
sweet.
Yeah, it is. And now, Anne, you've also renamed it to the Northern Lights Journey, which is the greatest experience of them all.
Perfect.
Okay. I kind of love you, sweetie. So that's
just this description of the journey. I purposefully has not learned to knit because I have way too many things I already do, and because I love yarn so much that I would have to get a whole new studio to hold it, right? So I purposefully but I want to do it so bad now, just because of the way you're talking about this.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
The picture of the broad view from the mountaintop, where you can see from above all the possibilities, but then going, if any of you have ever been to any fjords, I've only been to the fjords in New Zealand, to Melford Sound, and they were spectacular.
Yeah, and they are
deep water and huge mountains all around you, straight up out of the water. So this idea of diving deeply, which feels to me like really digging into a technique, really learning, having it in your bones. And then I can't even imagine what the Northern Lights experience is, because right now the Northern Lights are very top of my bucket list. The thing I want to do most before I die right now is see the Northern Lights. So this is so exciting to me. So just these simple words that you're using, and the way your audience, your community, the people you serve described it to you. This is a perfect example of listening and reflecting back what they're experiencing in your messaging. So if you take the time and have the opportunity to really work with your people, to listen to them, to talk to them, to ask them questions, to get feedback, that's the communication, that's the marketing. That's actually makes marketing easy, doesn't it? That's how you reach your people, but you use their own words.
Which is absolutely brilliant. And I've also come to a place where, because during the launch that we had now in August, what happened was that, because I have a couple of people working, I don't like to say working for me, they actually work with me. Yeah, especially one of them, she's really with me. Yes, I am the boss, she keeps saying, and makes the final decision, but she has such a lot of stuff that she brings to the table. So it's amazing to have her in my team. But anyway, during these this launch, what we got, because this is the first time during a big launch like that that she's been in my team. So what we decided was that we were going to do, even though it was the first time we launched this journey, we had people in our community that we could ask, can you talk about, because they already done the products that are in there, right? So they kind of,
Right.
we said, would you be willing to be on a panel with us and do live broadcasts to YouTube? That we have 5 people on the panel. I'm there, but Steph, my person, is actually hosting it. She's the one that actually keeps, holds the.
She's running the tech.
Yes, and not only now. She's actually running the conversation. She's, she was
fantastic.
Yes, because what happened, and this was magical, and I didn't expect this, and I didn't see this coming, but, I saw it. We had 3 of them, one for each of the journeys. And the first one, it was like, what I said to Steph was that, can you be the host? I'm there. I'm going to come up with support questions and acknowledge things and do that. But can you be the one that drives the conversation? Because that takes me kind of out of the equation. And I'm wondering if that might not be a good idea. That could be a good idea. Let's test this. What happened when I did that is that panel become so not salesy. Yeah, because I wasn't the one driving the questions. I wasn't the one that are leading. I was just supporting. Because I had a lot to say, so I can't. And you all got this by now. I talk a lot. I'm passionate about this. But it's, so I have a lot to say, and so I did talk, but I was not the one holding the whatever you call it on the horse. She was the one that kept all the threads together and said yes and no and no and yes and all that, and asked the questions. And the result was, even though we didn't sell one thing on that call. I didn't sell anything on that call on purpose, because I didn't want to, because we had a big free event coming up. It was the intro to that event. So I didn't do that on purpose. But in spite of that, I had 5K of sales that evening into that lower end program, because this was from the mountain program. And that is like, I had 5, that is like 10, 15 people signing up in that
That's
evening.
a lot, right?
Without me even dropping a link. And that has never happened before.
Well, what happens is you've taken yourself, the journey isn't about you anymore. You've centered the customer. You've centered the people you're serving. They're sharing their quest, their pain, their process, their entire journey. And that allows other people who aren't in your system yet to see themselves there. They can't see themselves as the teacher because they don't understand how to do any of it yet. But centering, this literally put your customers, the people you serve, as the main story.
Exactly. And the way that drew people in surprised me. I had a suspicion that it would happen, but I didn't have such a strong suspicion, because it resulted in, I actually had 30 new people to my high-end programs coming in August, and they are from 1,200 to 2K. And 30, that's a lot of people in my world. That's more than expected.
That is so fantastic. That is so fantastic. I'm having all these ideas. My masterclass people, I'm going to be calling you. We're going to have a panel. This is going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear all the things that you share.
No, because I love, and that was a huge success, because by getting, as you said, by having someone else telling what it's all about, then all of a sudden people see themselves in those talking about it, and it's like, oh, that could be me. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's beautiful, beautiful. I love hearing that things are growing And I know it hasn't been easy, and it hasn't been quick, and it has not been overnight. You started this, 2019, you said, and it's 2025 now. So that's a lot of years of working and trying to figure it out and growing and changing as you go. What at this end of the journey, and we all have, there's no end to the journey, right? Just from the vantage point of where we are looking back, what would be one or two things that you would advise your early self as you were beginning? One thing that's a practical bit of advice, and one thing that's something about your heart, something about the way you think about looking forward as you try to build a business. If you could tell your previous beginning self something.
One of the biggest thing is what I've already touched on, and that is, that belief in yourself thing that everyone tells you. And I know it sounds so cliche, but it's like, I stand so strongly in my shoes today. I know exactly what I'm doing and where I'm going. And someone said to me, you're worth it. And I just looked at her and I said, I know. And she started laughing. And it's like, and then I laughed. I know her, so I could say it. But then she said, oh, that's so you, Anne. Yes, it is. But I do know I'm worth it. But I didn't know that at the beginning.
You have to jump into that belief in order to make it a reality, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a circular spiral thing.
That a bit earlier, if possible. It's like, I don't know if it's would have been possible for me to do it earlier, but what I see is there are a couple of, I can go back, and there are a couple of turning points, pivotal points, where I feel like, that self-confidence, I never lacked self-confidence, but going into this, it was like, well, that's a lie. I do lack, I have lacked self-confidence. But it's like, but this, I felt really so insecure. And also just trusting, I keep telling my students, trust the process. Yeah. And I must admit, I haven't trusted the process all the time. I am now. I'm much more.
It's hard. Yeah. It takes practice.
Yeah, exactly. Again, right? But that embracing that you can do this thing a bit more strongly, a bit earlier, I think would have been, and acknowledging that my passion, because I've seen that my passion has been there all the time, is going to take me where I want to go.
And what I think I'm seeing is that your passion, of course, it's the knitting, but that's not where the center of it is. That's not where the heart of it is. It's the way that what you teach changes the people. It's what you bring for the people you serve that is your passion and your strength and the worth of it, right? It's not, I'm the best Norwegian knitter. There's probably lots of people better, right? Right?
I'm not.
But you can lift and serve the people who come to you with this tool. It's not about the tool itself. It's not about the skill itself. It's about everything around it that you provide that lifts them.
And seeing that is a process, and it takes time before you actually see that you're able to do that. And I wish I hadn't, because this is, back to those early coaches. They were like, the way they pushed me, mentally.
It's painful sometimes, isn't it?
Oh gosh, it's so painful. It really is. It really is. It really is. But another thing that they did, and that is more on the practical side, the business doing thing. My biggest pivot, or my biggest leap, quantum leap this far, I've had a few, but the biggest one was from day one. Knitting is a low-cost market, niche, kind of, because there's so many. And the reason for that, unfortunately, is the yarn shops, because the yarn producers, because not the shops, the yarn producers, because they want their yarn to be bought. So they have someone designing beautiful patterns, and then they give those patterns away for free. Yeah, that has been a trend that has exploded, but it's going a bit back again. And that was really what killed me in Norway, because all of a sudden all the patterns were free, and then it's like,
all right. Well, that's also providing a thing instead of an experience.
Exactly. So I decided really quickly that I didn't want to do the pattern. I have to design. If I don't get to design, I'm probably going to die. I need to express
Understood.
myself. But I decided that I don't want to go down that pattern road. I decided I wanted to do it differently, right? To do something, to think out of the box, to go from. And I remember, I think I mentioned it to you, but I remember when I was in the corporate world, we got this book I was in an American company, a global American company, and we got this book from headquarters that everyone in the marketing and the sales department had to read. And it was called The Blue Ocean Strategies. And the basic idea was that we were in a highly competitive business, and instead of going out into the red ocean where everyone was competing, and the red ocean was, where blood was spilled, right?
Oh, sharks.
Yeah, all the sharks, right? And then instead of doing that, we were encouraged to find where there are blue oceans. Where is the blue ocean where the sharks haven't found? And we were challenged to find that in order to create new markets for ourselves, right? And I remember that when I had this so in my brain when I was challenged by these coaches of mine. I was remembering that book, and I was thinking, okay, what's blue ocean? What's blue ocean? Couldn't see it, obviously. And they told me, Anne, you have to do a 2K program. And I looked at them and I said, there is no way that I'm going to be able to offer a 2K program. Well, I can offer a 2K program, but no one is going to buy it.
They're knitters, for heaven's sakes.
Exactly. And it took me almost 18 months before I actually gave in. And then I said it a bit in spite, but also because some of my knitters had come to me and said, hey, Anne, we want more. And I said, what do you want? Don't know, but we want more. And I was like, okay, you've been buying everything from me for 2 years now. But, I don't know what you want, but okay. Mm-hmm. And then I was pushed again, and this was in the summer, and in the autumn I was pushed again, and I was like, a bit out of spite, I said, okay, we're doing it. I'm going to do the 2K. I never looked back since then, because that's where the money started rolling. And I say money because the money is priced, but that's when the universe that I have now with my journeys actually took off. That's the pivotal point where things really fell into place.
Yeah, that's kind of terrifying, isn't it? I think we all in this craft and art world, we're just like, I'm just teaching people to cut up fabric and sew it back together. That's not a $2,000 thing. But then exactly what you did, learning that, no, that isn't a $2,000 thing, but everything else that's provided around it. So we only have a few minutes left, but what are some of the things, I mean, you have courses, you teach them to knit. What are the things that you actually do inside of these journeys that provide all that value?
What do we not do, right?
You do all the things.
Well, it depends awfully about, on what journey you are on. Because what we do is that right. If you're in the mountain, you're in the mountain. If you're in a journey, you also get the mountain. If you're in the Northern Light, you also get the mountain and the fjords, right? Mm-hmm. Now we do teach. Obviously, we have models that we teach. We have different levels on the knitting courses. We have from 0 to 3, so we teach those at different times of the year. We have weekly meetups. During the live teaching, we do meet twice a week because we have teaching day and we have Q&A day live on Zoom. Record it. People who can't join, watch it in replay, and then they can ask questions in writing and we answer them. We have the community section which is really popular and they use it a lot. It's taken time, but it's just taken off completely this autumn. We meet once a month just to chat and knit in the different levels.
Right.
The highest level meet every Saturday without us. They meet on Zoom and sit and knit and chat. That has become really popular. There's, and I pop in now and then. I popped in on Saturday and I couldn't get out because I just went in to say hi. But,
But they're your people.
Yeah, exactly. We have internal events. We're now starting up a pre-holiday. It used to be a pre-Christmas because I'm a Christmas person, but there are so many people that don't celebrate Christmas. So now it's a pre-holiday. We're going to have a make-along this autumn.
Fun.
Yeah, it is fun. There's always something happening, and right now we also actually do, but that is outside of the journey, but it's an add-on, really. We are inviting to a virtual retreat in end of February in 2026.
Tell us how your virtual retreat works.
It's just like the courses. It's an immersive experience.
It's just squished into a short amount of time?
We start on Thursday and we end on Sunday, and we have 6 to 7 hours every day with yoga, breaks, chat and knits, external speakers, replays for those who need that. They get a goodie bag with yarns. The lineup this year is going to be awesome.
It's all via Zoom?
Yes, it's via Zoom. Yes.
All right.
Depends a bit this year. Might if the numbers are big enough, we will have to have some external people running it for us because we managed last year, but I'm not quite sure if we will manage this year. We'll have to see. So, and on top of that, we are actually, which is really cool, we are doing next summer, we are doing a live retreat in Norway, but we are offering it to the Northern Lights people first.
Oh, so in person instead of just live via Zoom.
Yes, and that's going to be
wow.
We're going to be traveling and see the sites, go to yarn spinneries, see historical sites, go to my town.
That sounds amazing.
Mountains. Yes, it is. So we got 15 seats and we have 10 seats booked already. So we launched it last week, end of last week.
That's amazing. I am so happy for you. So the things that you're doing are beautiful, and it's that providing of community, and both with you, but your students with each other, and the way that you serve them that has come back around to your success. And it's taken, I see that it's taken struggle, it's taken work, it's taken, I think you got there faster. A lot of people take forever. And part of that is you had coaches that were pushing you much farther than you would have pushed yourself. So
totally, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I remember Barry, one of my coaches, he said, "And you have an inner drive that it's strong."
Yeah. Well, a lot of entrepreneurs do. That's why we're doing this, right? It feeds our souls to be creating something from us instead of channeling something from somebody else.
But you're so right. It's, getting here has been, it's not been a bed of roses all the way. It's been,
of course not.
It's been rough. My mom paid my flat rent 4 years. Yeah. It's so, it is really hard. It is really hard. And to have that kind of support sometimes is the only thing that gets you through. Well, Anne, thank you so much for the wisdom that you've shared and for your vulnerability and for all of the really interesting insights into how you run your business and how you've made it a success. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Before we go, let's do a fun thing. I love to ask my guests, because we're creatives here, what is the last thing you made?
The last thing I finished was actually this one.
Oh, okay. Hold it up to the camera. Oh, it's a fingerless glove. It's gray,
It's for the
dark
retreat.
gray toward the elbow, light gray toward the fingers, and it has a beautiful field of flowers and trees. That is intricate.
Yes, it is. And this is for the retreat. So everyone in the retreat will get the yarn for this. And
Ooh.
I'm working on this one, which is going to be a cardigan.
Oh, that's
with
amazing.
with some, embroideries on it and stuff. So this
Yeah,
is a
so
test.
it's the
So
same.
I needed to test some stuff. So this is a test.
Her tests look like a masterpiece to me. It's the same kind of idea with a dark gray at the bottom and a light gray background, but beautiful, intricate, floral. It looks like you're laying in a field in a meadow looking through all the beautiful flowers. That's gorgeous. Thank you for
I'm
sharing.
really happy with this one. So, but I'm since you're asking, this is the project that I'm working on right now. It's going to be a sweater. It's for
Another beautiful pattern.
Yeah, and it's for me, this one. And this is so funny because this is for the people that have been in my 2K program for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're getting this now because they are there for the 3rd year, so they need something extra. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And they pay every year, don't they? You don't do a permanent access, do you?
No, I don't. No, I don't. They get a permanent access to the programs, the courses.
Right.
But to stay in the community, they pay every year. It's a lower price, year 2 and 3, and the first year is the most the highest price.
I like it.
Yeah, but
that's great.
But they pay to stay. That's what they're doing.
I love
in
it.
the community. That's the
Anna,
community to stay for. Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Anne's Norwegian.knitting.com.
All right. And we will have links in the show notes and in the description here for all of Anna's website, for her retreat, for her journeys, and I'll find a link to the Blue Oceans book. That sounds interesting. It'll be great. Thanks again for your time and your generosity and for sharing with our audience. It's been lovely to talk with you, Anna.
Likewise, and thank you so much for having me.
I love how Anna said it didn't work until I made it truly mine. That shift to naming her students, charging what it's worth, and letting her community lead made all the difference. Go say hello to Anne and explore her journeys. The links are waiting in the show notes. And keep an eye out for her retreats, from a virtual deep dive to an in-person adventure in Norway. If this conversation helped you see your own blue ocean, come learn with us at academyforvirtualteaching.com. You'll find free seminars, some amazing practical tools, and a community that actually gets what you do. And it would mean so much to us if you took a moment to leave a review wherever you were listening. Thanks, friend. Keep creating beautiful things and serving the people who truly need what you have to offer. Thank you so much for joining me on Creatives on Camera. I know there are countless podcasts out there, and I'm honored you spent your time here. If you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the next one, please subscribe to the podcast. Then, if you'd like to stay connected and get even more tips on teaching, marketing, and video creation, sign up for my email list at academyforvirtualteaching.com. You'll get exclusive insights and updates delivered straight to your inbox to help you grow your creative business with ease. Lastly, be sure to check the show notes below in the episode description for links to everything mentioned today. And I'll see you in the next episode.